The house felt larger than ever, each room echoing with silence. Her children had grown and moved away, leaving behind memories tucked into corners. At 55, she sat by the kitchen table, sipping coffee that tasted more like habit than joy. She looked around and realized that the walls no longer spoke to her. A quiet ache pressed against her heart, whispering that something was missing. For years, she had lived for others, filling days with routines that revolved around family. Now, with no one depending on her, she felt invisible, even to herself. She tried to keep busy with chores, but they brought no sense of purpose. Books, television, and gardening all failed to fill the hollow inside. It was as if she had lost the thread of who she once was. Each evening, the fading light of Oregon's skies seemed to highlight her loneliness. She wondered if this was all there was for the rest of her life. The thought frightened her, because deep inside, she longed for something more. She didn't know what shape it would take, but she craved change. Somewhere in her soul, a seed of hope still lived. She had heard stories of women reinventing themselves at different ages. Some opened businesses, others traveled, or pursued old dreams. She admired them, but doubted if she could ever do the same. Fear told her she was too old to start anew, and the unknown felt intimidating. Still, a quiet question lingered. What if she could? The kitchen, once lively with laughter, now stood still. Cooking had always been her love, but without anyone to share meals with, it felt less important. Yet, whenever she stirred a pot or baked bread, warmth returned to her heart. It reminded her that food was not just nourishment, it was connection. That thought lingered longer than she expected. She sighed, closing her eyes, remembering her children's favorite dishes. Memories of smiles and conversations over the dinner table filled her with both sadness and longing. Cooking had been her language of love, and maybe, just maybe, it could still be her gift. But how could she share it now, when her table was empty? The answer had not come yet, but the ache remained. And as she washed her empty cup and placed it in the sink, she sensed that her story was not finished. Something inside whispered that a new chapter was waiting to be written. She just didn't know where it would begin. It was on a rainy Oregon morning that she decided to step into a store filled with glowing screens. Computers lined the walls, intimidating in their brightness. She hesitated, her hands slightly trembling as she approached one of the devices. The young clerk spoke with energy, explaining features she barely understood. She felt like a stranger in a foreign land. Still, she forced a smile and nodded, pretending to follow along. "Simple," he said, assuring her that this computer was perfect for beginners. She clutched her purse tightly, thinking about the expense. Was she really going to spend money on something she barely knew how to use? Courage nudged her forward, and she signed the receipt. Carrying the box home felt like carrying both a burden and a promise. She set it on the table and just stared at it, uncertain where to begin. The silence in the room grew heavier, pressing her with doubts. Yet she had chosen this step, and that meant something. For the first time in weeks, her heart beat with anticipation. Unpacking it felt overwhelming. Wires and instructions spread across the table. She struggled to follow the manual, her glasses slipping down her nose. Several times she considered giving up, but something kept her trying. Each button pressed was an act of defiance against her fear. She reminded herself that learning could be slow, but progress mattered. When the screen finally flickered on, her eyes widened with awe. A small victory, but powerful enough to bring a smile. She tapped the keyboard hesitantly, amazed that her touch could bring life to the device. For years she had avoided technology, but here she was, breaking through the wall. It was a fragile but hopeful beginning. Her children had once teased her about being old-fashioned. She had laughed it off, secretly embarrassed. Now, she felt the stirrings of pride. She wasn't just staying still in her life, she was choosing to grow. That realization gave her courage, more than the glowing screen itself. As the computer hummed quietly, she leaned back in her chair. The challenge was far from over, but she had crossed the first barrier. She wondered what she might discover in this new world, and though doubt still whispered, courage spoke louder, pushing her to take the next step. The days that followed were filled with trial and error. She clicked icons without knowing what they meant, sometimes opening strange windows she couldn't close. Frustration built quickly, and her patience was tested. But every mistake taught her something new. Slowly, the machine began to feel less like a stranger. She watched tutorial videos, often pausing and rewinding countless times. The voices of strangers became her teachers, guiding her through basic steps. Sometimes she laughed at herself when she got things wrong, and sometimes tears blurred her vision, but she refused to walk away. Each tiny success gave her hope. Her fingers began to remember the keyboard, awkward at first but steadier with time. She learned how to search for recipes online, amazed at the endless variety available. She printed out instructions and tried them in her kitchen. With each dish, she felt connected to a bigger world. That connection warmed her heart. At night, she practiced saving files, naming them carefully, and creating folders. She enjoyed seeing her progress neatly organized on the screen. It was like building little islands of knowledge, one step at a time. Each folder felt like proof that she was capable of learning. She began to see herself differently. Her children were surprised when she mentioned her new skills on the phone. "Mom, that's amazing," they said with genuine excitement. Their encouragement gave her even more courage. She no longer felt like a bystander in a digital world. She was slowly stepping onto the stage, one small act at a time. The fear that once held her captive was giving way to determination. She realized she had been underestimating herself for too long. If she could learn this, what else might she discover? That thought lingered, sparking curiosity. It made her believe that perhaps her future wasn't limited by age. One evening, while typing a simple note to herself, an idea surfaced. What if she could combine this new skill with her old love for cooking? She paused, staring at the blinking cursor. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of purpose returning. That spark was too powerful to ignore. Her kitchen had always been the heart of her home, filled with aromas and laughter. Now, it felt quiet, but she wanted to bring it back to life. She decided to cook her favorite family recipes and record the process. Maybe others would enjoy the warmth she once shared with her children. The thought excited her. She borrowed her neighbor's old camera, setting it on the counter with clumsy hands. The first attempts were awkward, the angle wrong and the lighting poor. She laughed nervously, whispering to herself that perfection wasn't required. What mattered was the intention behind it. Her heart beat faster as she pressed record. Her voice trembled as she explained each step of a simple soup recipe. She forgot ingredients mid-sentence and had to start again. But when she poured the soup into a bowl, she smiled at the thought of someone, somewhere, making it to. The camera clicked off, and she sat quietly, overwhelmed by courage. Uploading the video felt scarier than recording it. She stared at the publish button for a long time. Would anyone care? Would people laugh at her mistakes? Doubts swirled around, threatening to stop her. But with a deep breath, she clicked. And in that moment, she felt free. The video went online, drifting into the vast ocean of the internet. She didn't expect much, but she felt proud anyway. For the first time, she had dared to share a part of herself. That courage was worth celebrating. She went to bed with a quiet smile on her face. In the morning, curiosity made her check the screen again. No views, no likes, no comments. Her heart sank a little, but she reminded herself that beginnings are often quiet. Seeds need time to grow. She whispered to herself, patience, just patience. Still, doubt returned in waves. Had this been foolish? But deep inside, she knew she had taken a step that mattered. Even if no one saw it yet, she had begun a journey of transformation, and she promised herself she would not stop here. She spent the next few days tinkering with her new channel. Choosing a name felt more difficult than expected. After scribbling ideas on scraps of paper, she settled on recipes from the heart. It felt authentic, carrying the love she wanted to share. The title made her smile softly. Designing the page was another challenge. She struggled with settings and spent hours figuring out how to upload a banner. Tutorials once again became her lifeline, guiding her step by step. She wasn't fast, but she was learning. Each solved problem boosted her confidence. Her second video was about baking bread, a family favorite. She spoke with more ease, her hands steady as she kneaded the dough. The camera work was still clumsy, but her joy was genuine. She realized that people didn't need perfection, they needed authenticity. And authenticity was her strength. When she uploaded the bread video, she felt slightly braver. This time, she didn't hesitate before pressing publish. She was beginning to embrace the process, even with its imperfections. Growth was happening, slowly but surely. She was no longer just a spectator in her own life. Days passed, and still no views came. But instead of despair, she felt determination. She decided to keep posting, trusting that consistency would matter. She began planning her recipes in a notebook, organizing her ideas like a true creator. That planning filled her days with excitement. Cooking became more than habit. Again, it became purpose. She found herself humming while preparing meals, her kitchen alive once more. Even if no one was watching yet, The act itself was healing. It reminded her that she had something meaningful to give, and that was powerful. As she looked at her channel page late at night, she whispered, "This is just the beginning." She didn't know what awaited her, but she felt stronger with every step. Courage had carried her this far, and deep inside, she sensed more was coming. The early weeks were discouraging. Video after video went unnoticed, the counter stubbornly showing 0 views. She refreshed the page constantly, hoping for movement, but nothing changed. Silence became a heavy weight, testing her resolve. Doubt crept in like a shadow. She asked herself if she was wasting her time. Who would want to watch a 55-year-old woman cooking in her modest kitchen? The internet seemed so full of polished, professional creators. She felt like a whisper against a storm. But whispers, she reminded herself, can carry far. To keep herself going, she focused on the joy of creating. She treated each video as a practice, not a performance. Cooking became her meditation, and filming her ritual. The process itself gave her life, even when the world seemed not to notice. That thought kept her steady. One afternoon, she almost deleted her channel. The temptation was strong, the disappointment sharp, but she paused, remembering why she began: to reconnect, to find purpose, to share love through food. She couldn't let numbers erase that intention. With a deep breath, she chose to continue. She wrote down encouraging words in her notebook: hope, courage, resilience. She placed it beside her computer, a quiet reminder of her strength. Each time doubt appeared, she read the words aloud. They became her anchor. They reminded her that progress was not always visible. The silence on the web did not define her journey. She realized she was planting seeds in a soil unseen. Someday, those seeds might bloom. And if not, she had still found healing in the act of creating. That truth mattered more than any number. Late one night, she uploaded another video, this one about a comforting stew. As she clicked publish, she smiled softly. The silence still lingered, but her spirit no longer feared it. She was building resilience, one video at a time. She awoke one morning to find a small red notification on her screen. Her heart skipped as she clicked to see what it was. A comment had appeared beneath her bread video. "This looks delicious. Reminds me of my grandma's recipe." Her eyes filled with tears at the kindness. Someone had finally noticed her. That single comment meant more than numbers ever could. It was proof that her efforts had reached another human being. She read it again and again, letting the words sink into her heart. The silence had finally been broken. She was no longer speaking into the void. Encouraged, she replied with gratitude, her fingers trembling as she typed. It felt like opening a door to a new friendship, even with a stranger. For the first time, she saw her channel as a bridge, not just a project. Connection had been her dream, and now it was happening. Soon, another comment arrived, and then a third. Each one carried warmth, small affirmations that she was on the right path. The numbers were still small, but the encouragement felt immense. She began to smile more as she worked in her kitchen, her energy renewed. She wasn't invisible anymore. Her children noticed the change in her voice when they called. She spoke with excitement, sharing the little victories. They told her how proud they were, and she felt lighter, freer. The woman who once feared technology was now thriving within it. Her courage had sparked a flame. She realized that even one person inspired was enough reason to continue. The thought made her resilient against doubt. The journey was no longer about fame or numbers, but about meaning. Each recipe carried a story, and each video carried her heart. That was her true reward. As she planned her next dish to share, a quiet certainty settled inside her. She was building more than a channel, she was building purpose. And though the road ahead was still uncertain, she was no longer afraid of walking it. Something beautiful was unfolding. With more confidence came new challenges. She noticed her videos looked dim, her kitchen poorly lit. The sound of clattering dishes sometimes drowned her voice. She realized that to grow, she needed to improve. Instead of discouragement, she chose determination. Mistakes became her teachers. She watched tutorials about lighting and editing, pausing to take notes. The technical terms felt overwhelming, but she pressed on. Each new skill was like unlocking a secret door. She laughed at her clumsy first edits, but progress was visible. Growth was happening, one frame at a time. Her children mailed her a small ring light for her birthday. When she switched it on, her kitchen glowed with warmth. Suddenly, the colors of her dishes came alive on screen. It felt like a gift of encouragement, a reminder that she wasn't alone in this journey. She felt deeply supported. She experimented with new angles, learning how to make her cooking look inviting. Sometimes the camera fell, sometimes she forgot to press record. But instead of frustration, she treated these moments as steps forward. Each error carried a lesson. Each lesson built resilience that her editing improved too. She learned to cut awkward pauses and add gentle background music. The first time she watched a polished video, she gasped, was this really her work? It looked so much better than before. Pride swelled in her chest. She was evolving. The audience noticed. Comments grew kinder and more specific, praising her improvements. Your videos are getting better and better, one wrote. She felt seen, not just for her recipes but for her growth. That recognition fueled her even more. As she set up for another recording, she whispered, I'm learning, I'm growing. And though the challenges kept coming, she faced them with courage. Each step, no matter how small, brought her closer to transformation. She sensed she was on the edge of something greater. Her mornings now began with purpose. She brewed her coffee while checking her notebook of recipe ideas. Planning became part of her joy, each day shaped around creativity. Cooking was no longer just feeding herself, it was sharing with the world. Her life had found rhythm again. She organized her week into filming days, editing days, and posting days. The structure gave her balance and kept loneliness at bay. Instead of empty silence, her house buzzed with activity. It was as if her walls were waking up again. Energy filled the rooms. Her neighbors began to notice her change. You look brighter these days, one said as they met at the market. She smiled, carrying her basket of fresh vegetables. The compliment warmed her. It was true. Something inside her was glowing again. Hope was showing on the outside. Cooking had become her meditation, filming her joy, and editing her challenge. Each part of the process built resilience and pride. She felt younger, not in years, but in spirit. The spark she thought she had lost had returned. It gave her courage to keep dreaming. She started keeping a journal of her feelings, writing about her progress. Reading back, she saw a clear transformation. The woman who once felt empty was now full of purpose. The contrast amazed her. Life was changing, step by step. One evening, she sat by the window, reflecting on her journey so far. The Oregon sky was painted with soft colors, and she whispered, I'm not the same woman anymore. That realization brought both peace and excitement. She was still unfolding, still discovering. Her channel was small but alive, just like her heart. And though she couldn't see the full future, she trusted the path she was on. Each recipe, each video, each word of encouragement pushed her forward. A new chapter of her life had truly begun. One afternoon, she uploaded a video about a simple apple pie. She thought nothing of it, just another recipe to share. But within days, the view count began to climb faster than ever before. Comments poured in, filled with nostalgia and gratitude. Her apple pie had touched many hearts. Neighbors mentioned the video at the local market. I saw your pie online, one exclaimed with excitement. She blushed, not used to such recognition. What had started in her quiet kitchen was now reaching her community. She realized she was no longer invisible. Her work was spreading. The sudden attention felt overwhelming but joyful. She read each comment carefully, responding with kindness. People wrote about their families, their childhood memories, their own struggles. Her recipes were not just food, they were stories, healing connections across distance. She had found something bigger than herself. The growing attention gave her courage to try new ideas. She experimented with regional dishes, adding her personal touch. The audience loved it, praising her creativity. She discovered that she wasn't just sharing recipes, she was building bonds. That thought filled her heart with hope. Her children were astonished by the sudden popularity. Mom, you're going viral. They laughed, cheering her on. She laughed too, still amazed at what was happening. A journey that had begun in loneliness was now filling lives, including her own, with joy. She felt grateful. Still, she reminded herself not to chase numbers. What mattered most was the authenticity that had brought her this far. She promised to stay true to her heart, no matter how large her audience grew. That promise gave her strength and clarity. Purpose guided her path as she prepared her next recipe. She smiled softly. Recognition had come unexpectedly, but it confirmed what she already knew. Her journey was worthwhile, and deep inside, she sensed that even greater transformations lay ahead. Despite her progress, doubts sometimes returned. Late at night, she wondered if her success was temporary. What if people lost interest? What if she couldn't keep up? Fear whispered that she wasn't strong enough to sustain this path. The voice of insecurity grew louder in quiet moments. She questioned her ability to balance creativity and responsibility. Could she really manage this new world of technology, filming, and editing long term? The thought of failure haunted her. She had come so far, yet part of her still feared falling back into emptiness. It was a battle within. To fight the doubts, she reminded herself of her journey. She looked at old videos, comparing them to her newest ones. The growth was undeniable. Each step proved resilience. Courage had carried her through challenges before, and it could do so again. She repeated this truth like a mantra. Sometimes she prayed for guidance, seeking comfort in quiet reflection. Peace would wash over her, reminding her that she was not alone. She believed there was a greater purpose behind her work. That belief steadied her heart and gave her strength. She felt lifted by hope. Her audience, unknowingly, became her source of encouragement. Messages of gratitude arrived daily, some sharing personal struggles. "You inspire me," one wrote, "to start my own journey." Tears filled her eyes as she read those words. She realized her channel was more than foodit, was transformation. Still, she accepted that doubts were part of growth. They tested her courage and sharpened her purpose. She no longer feared them as much, because she knew she could rise above them. Resilience became her greatest tool, forged through struggle. It gave her quiet confidence. As she closed her journal one evening, she whispered, "I will not stop." Her doubts remained, but her resolve was stronger. She knew storms might come, but hope would guide her through. Her story was still unfolding, and she was ready to keep writing it. The more her channel grew, the more messages she received from women her age. Many confessed they had given up on dreams, believing it was too late. Her story gave them courage to try again. She realized her work was sparking a quiet movement of hope. That realization humbled her. One woman wrote, "I'm 56, and I just learned how to paint because of you." Another shared, "I started baking again after watching your videos." These messages filled her heart with joy. Her recipes were reaching beyond kitchens. They were inspiring new beginnings. That truth made her proud. She began answering as many messages as possible, offering encouragement. She reminded others that small steps mattered, that resilience grew with practice. The conversations lit her spirit with energy. She no longer felt alone. She was part of a growing circle of courage. Sometimes, women shared their struggles openly. Loneliness, fear of aging, loss of confidence. She listened with compassion, offering words of comfort. Her channel became more than recipes. It became a community. Together, they reminded each other that life could bloom at any stage. She considered starting a small group online for women to share stories. The idea excited her, though she wasn't sure how to manage it yet. Technology still challenged her, but courage urged her to try. She knew that collective strength could be powerful. She wanted to build it. As she filmed her next video, she spoke not only to her viewers, but to her sisters in spirit. She imagined them watching, smiling, feeling encouraged. That thought gave her videos new warmth, new energy. She was cooking with love, but also with purpose. At night, she reflected on the transformation. She had begun this journey searching for meaning, and now she was helping others find theirs. That truth gave her peace. She whispered to herself, "We are stronger together," and she believed it deeply. Her reflection in the mirror no longer showed a tired woman weighed down by loneliness. Instead, she saw bright eyes and a confident smile. The change was undeniable. She felt stronger, lighter, and more alive than she had in years. Her spirit had been transformed. Her children noticed it too. "Mom, you're glowing," one said during a visit. She laughed, brushing it off, but deep down she knew it was true. Purpose had breathed new life into her. She no longer felt invisible. She had become the heroine of her own story. Daily routines became joyful rituals. Grocery shopping was exciting, filled with possibilities for new recipes. Editing sessions turned into creative adventures. Even cleaning her kitchen carried meaning, because it was part of her journey. Every action was infused with purpose. Neighbors admired her resilience. Some asked for advice, curious about her secret. She told them it was never about age, but about courage. Her words carried weight, because she embodied them. Her story became proof that new beginnings were possible. She was living inspiration. Her health improved as well. Cooking fresh meals and staying active in the kitchen energized her. Smiles came easily. Laughter returned naturally. She carried herself with renewed confidence. Transformation was not just internal, it was visible to all who knew her. Sometimes, She thought back to the lonely woman who once doubted her worth. That memory no longer brought sadness, but gratitude. Without those struggles, she would never have discovered her strength. Every hardship had prepared her for this moment of growth. As she set up her camera for another video, she paused and whispered, "Thank you, life." She felt gratitude for every step of her journey, and though more challenges might come, she was ready. Transformation had given her wings. Opportunities began to appear that she had never imagined. Local businesses reached out, offering partnerships for ingredients and cookware. She hesitated at first, unsure if she was ready, but with courage, she accepted, realizing it was recognition of her hard work. Each partnership felt like validation. Then came the moment she had dreamed of. Her channel reached the threshold for monetization. She received her first payment, small but meaningful. Tears streamed down her face as she held the confirmation email. This was no longer just a hobby, it was financially real. The income, though modest, gave her new freedom. She could invest in better equipment and ingredients. She could dream bigger without fear of limitation. The possibility of stability filled her with relief and excitement. She was building not only purpose but sustainability. Her children celebrated with her, cheering her success. "Mom, you did it," they exclaimed proudly. She laughed through her tears, grateful for their support. It felt surreal, transforming a once lonely kitchen into a source of livelihood. Life had shifted in unimaginable ways. She looked around her home, now vibrant with energy. The same walls that once echoed with silence now carried hope. Her story had turned from emptiness to abundance. She was proof that age was no barrier to reinvention, that truth empowered her deeply. With each new recipe, she envisioned a brighter tomorrow. She dreamed of publishing a cookbook, maybe even teaching classes. Possibilities unfolded before her like an open road. Courage whispered, "Keep going," and she believed it wholeheartedly. As she uploaded another video, she smiled with calm pride. The future was no longer something to fear, it was something to embrace. She was walking toward it with resilience, hope, and joy. Her journey had only just begun. Sitting at her kitchen table, she reflected on the path she had traveled, from loneliness to connection, from fear to courage, from doubt to purpose. Every step had shaped her into the woman she was now. She whispered, "It was never too late." The words filled her with peace. She thought of the women she had inspired, the stories they had shared. Their voices echoed in her heart, proof that her journey mattered. She was not only transforming her own life, but planting seeds in others. That knowledge gave her deep fulfillment. She felt truly alive. Cooking remained her joy, but it was no longer about recipes alone. It was about resilience, hope, and new beginnings. Each dish was a message of love, each video a beacon of courage. She was more than a creator, she was a messenger of possibility. The past no longer defined her. She had turned her pain into purpose, her silence into song. Every doubt had become fuel for resilience. Every setback had become a stepping stone. She had found her place, and it was brighter than she ever imagined. Looking out the window at the Oregon sky, she smiled softly. Life still held mystery, but she was no longer afraid. She had learned that courage could rise at any age, that transformation was timeless. Hope had given her wings, and she was soaring. Her children visited often now, proud of her courage. They sat around her table again, sharing laughter and meals. The kitchen was once more filled with love and connection. She realized she had not only rebuilt her own life, but rekindled her family's joy. As she prepared her next recipe, she whispered for the world to hear, "It's never too late." And with that truth, she stepped into her future resilient, hopeful, and free.